In an interview with Chris Broussard for ESPN The Magazine, which hits newsstands on Friday, LeBron James talked about his game on and off the court. On those who question his competitive skills, he had this to say. I'll just put it this way. There are different ways to hunt. I watch the Discovery Channel all the time. You look at all these animals in the wild, and they all hunt a different way to feed their families. They all kill a different way. Everybody wants everybody to kill like MJ or kill like Kobe. Magic didn't kill the way they killed. Does that mean he didn't have killer instinct? Kareem didn't either. But does that mean Kareem didn't have a killer instinct? The same with Bird. That doesn't mean you don't have a killer instinct. Okay, LeBron, we're putting you on the hook. Stephen A., I'll ask you first, what is he trying to say? And more importantly, whom is he saying it to?
Well, he's saying it to all of us, and particularly individuals like Skip Bayless who have questioned his killer instinct. He's saying that there are different ways to hunt, there are different ways to kill. There's more than one way to skin a cat, to kill a cat, etc., etc. And obviously, they all had different ways of doing it. MJ and Kobe might be a bit alike. Larry Bird might have been like them to some degree, but a tad bit different. Magic Johnson was certainly different. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was certainly different, but all of them were multiple champions. Tim Duncan is definitely different, but he's a champion as well. And I think the important thing to point out is the level of comfort he had in saying what he said, because we have to remember that LeBron James would have never dared utter these words before he won a championship. The fact that he now sits as a two-time reigning world champion goes a long, long way, because it gives him the cachet, the credentials, the qualifications to elocute exactly what he did. So I totally agree with him. I understand where he's coming from. There's some other things that I wanted to piggyback off of what we alluded to yesterday in regards to him and MJ, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But for this point right now, I will tell you that I agree with what he said.
I liked what he said.
Yeah.
I thought it was insightful. It was revealing. He's obviously thought a lot about it. I like the animal analogy because there are different ways to, so to speak, skin that cat. There are different ways to kill. You can do it subtly, or you can do it full attack mode. You can set up your kill, or you can go right for the throat. And in LeBron's case, I don't think he was born with much killer instinct, and I cannot hold that against him, because you can't learn it. You can't create it. You can't teach it. You can't coach it. You're either built that way or you're not. Now, LeBron has won a whole lot of basketball games in his life just because he is so supremely gifted. And he plays as hard, minute for minute, as anyone I have ever watched. He will give you every bit that he has every minute. And a lot of times that can translate maybe not into pure killer instinct, but into closing the deal, just because he is gifted and he is driven. So you got two, that's a lethal combination. Now, when he brings up Magic, Magic laughed a lot and kidded around a lot. Listen, he was killer to the core. Listen, he's right there with Michael to me, or Kobe, or whoever you want to throw in.
Correct.
Really,
totally agree.
The Duncan analogy, I'll go with, because the killer on the Spurs through the dynastic run was Manu Ginobili. He wasn't there for them in this past year's championship series, the finals, and it hurt them because he couldn't close the deal in Game 6. But Manu Ginobili is the cold-blooded killer on that team who would have made, you know, in his prime, he would have made that free throw that he missed down the stretch in Game 6. So Tim needed him, because Tim doesn't, you know, his RPM doesn't run that high, but Tim's going to be there. He's going to be Mr. Steady, play after play after play. And he'll make big shots, but his body language isn't, I'm going to cut your throat here. Okay? So with LeBron, we even saw it in last year's finals. Remember games 1, 3, and 5? We all wondered, where are you? What are you doing? We had people come on our show, even San Antonio. Steven Jackson, I remember, said, hey, big man, where are you? You know, where you been? What are you doing? He seemed passive, and I don't know, I can't explain it, but in those 3 games, and then down the stretch in Game 6, in that final minute, LeBron James had 2 turnovers in the final minute and missed 2 threes. He also made a big 3 that kept him barely afloat, but he missed the final 3 that we thought looked like it was going to be San Antonio's championship, and then Ray Allen happened. I don't want to go
Game
through that
6,
again.
Ray Allen, the 3.
Thank you very much. But my point is, that's his psyche. Is he all-time great. Yes, he's all-time great, but he was born a very nice man. I think he's a good-hearted. We talked about this yesterday.
He is
a fine human being. I think he makes a great friend. There's something in his psyche that doesn't have that mentally tough, I'm going to step on your throat kind of mentality. And again, I don't blame him for it. Again, if we judge him by the Michael Jordan standard, you have to say, well, that guy has it and that guy didn't. So we were doing our hypothetical one-on-one game, and I would say, well, I'm taking the killer instinct. LeBron might be more gifted, bigger, stronger, fat, blah, 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 all those things. But in the end, I'm going to take the killer instinct in one-on-one.
But I think there's something else going on with LeBron James, too. And I think it's time to mention it. He's a champion. He's a winner. But he also likes the stardom. He likes to shine. He's starting to like the attention a little bit more than he used to.
All right.
You know, I went back and I listened to some of the things that he said that Chris Broussard wrote in his outstanding discussion with LeBron in the magazine yesterday. Just thinking about what he's saying here. LeBron is sort of tipping us off to the kind of season that we may have. We may very well see a killer instinct in him now that we've never seen before because now he's gotten addicted to winning. He has tasted the champagne and he has toasted in the adulation that has come with it. And he is lavishing in it and loving every bit of it and not about to let anybody take it away from him. And I think that the stories that get written about him, the things that get said and told about him, I think it's very calculating. I think it's very manipulative. And I mean that in a positive way, not a negative way. I think he's doing it in a fashion that's saying, look out because I've got more coming.
Okay.
And I think that's what I took. And then I went back and I thought about yesterday and what we talked about with MJ. And I said to myself, why would he say those things about MJ? And I started thinking about something. And Skip, I mentioned this to you this morning, too. I forgot to mention this yesterday. You know, when Michael Jordan had his 50th birthday party at NBA All-Star Weekend, I was there. Very, very nice party, by the way.
Yeah.
I must say,
we didn't get invited.
I cannot believe that I didn't remember to bring this up. LeBron talked about how he wished he could talk to MJ. He talked about how he wished that he had a better relationship with MJ so they could talk basketball, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't talking basketball. Skip, you know who it was? It was LeBron. It was MJ. It was Kobe, Carmelo, and Chris Paul. They were all there. LeBron's dudes like Maverick was there. Worldwide West was there. I mean, all of those guys were around. They were talking basketball. And I know for a fact that MJ at that particular moment in time sat there and said the door's open to come talk anytime they want to. Now, you have a situation where if you're LeBron James, you know that MJ is an owner, that MJ can't be reaching out to players, that it's incumbent upon you to take that initial step because if you're an owner, you don't want to be accused of trying to coax dudes into coming to play for you. You know all of these things. So why do you mention this kind of stuff? Could it be that you don't mind the comparisons? Could it be that we get back to what Skip Bayless has said in terms of how, and even LeBron has said this, I'm coming for it. I want to be recognized as the greatest. And he is putting everybody on notice that this is what he is coming for. And if you throw MJ's name out there, ultimately the comparisons will follow. And as a result, you're putting everybody on notice that you are coming for it all. Me personally, I don't mind because I think LeBron James is great. I think he's the best player in the world today. I want to see him try to eclipse everybody that's ever played this game. Go ahead and make that attempt. I can't imagine giving it to you over MJ, but you could go ahead and make that attempt all you want to. But that is what I surmised from that whole situation that we talked about yesterday.
Are you summing up that it was a little unfair for LeBron to insinuate that Michael doesn't have the time of day for him?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the reason why I say absolutely is because I've talked to MJ many times over the years, okay? I have a relationship with him. I have a relationship with Kobe and most of these players in the league. You know that. And in the end, I have never once heard a single player say, a single marquee player, now if you're a scrub, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that MJ would say this, but if you're a scrub, I mean, what can MJ do for you? You see what I'm saying? But I remember the stories Melo have told me about him. I remember the stories Kobe has told me about MJ. I remember stories numerous stars in this league over the years have told me about MJ. Not one single player has ever implied that MJ has a closed door policy. Now, MJ is not going to reach out to you, but his door is open if you want to reach out to him because he loves the games and he wants these guys to do better. MJ's of the mindset, I did what I did in my time. Now it's your time, and that's that.
So you're saying he's generous with his time. He doesn't mind sharing.
He doesn't mind at all. If you reach out to him, MJ will embrace that, and I think those players would tell you that. So it leads me to ask the question, why would LeBron say that? I don't know the answer to that question. It's unfair to just sit there and assume that I know the answer to that question on the part of LeBron James. But taking your quotes about wanting to be the greatest, understanding that you look at those records you're trying to eclipse as an obstacle of yours that you're trying to reach and leap or frog over and try to overcome, you combine all of that with some of the things that you've heard come out of LeBron James' mouth. Clearly, somebody could surmise that, you know what, I want to do it, but I also want to do it my way. I don't want to reach out for anybody's help. I want to do it my way. But why say what you said? Okay,
I do want to emphasize the point that you made early on.
Sure.
Michael Jordan does own an NBA team. So there's some limit, even though you told me that with Carmelo, he was giving him some inside tips.
About the play, exactly.
But there's got to be some limit to how far he wants to go with teams that he hopes one day to challenge, right? I mean, I know his team's not very good right now, but at some point, you don't want to give away all the state secrets to, right?
And you may not give away all the state secrets, but if you are a Hall of Famer and you're widely, if not universally, recognized as the greatest, you know it's a crime for you not to share some elements of what made you who you are to a younger generation. As they say in church, most churches have pastors in it, Skip, that would say there's no success without a successor.
Right.
Okay. If you're not lending your level of expertise and extending it to those who may not know that come after you, then what success have you truly enjoyed if you haven't bestowed your knowledge upon somebody else? I find MJ to be that kind of person, and I don't believe for one second he has a closed door policy. And I've been told emphatically by numerous people over the last 24 hours that that is absolutely false. He does not have a closed door policy.
This is my, if I might, I'm going to psychoanalyze from a distance here.
Sure.
My read is what I told you yesterday as we opened up our discussion, that quote from LeBron came across like a father-son quote, where it was like the son saying, I wish my father would give me more. I wish he would recognize me. I wish he'd tell me that he respects my game and that I'm great. And maybe, even though they've had these kind of social conversations at a birthday party, maybe he feels like Michael has never really opened up to him, never sort of
approved him.
Yeah, approved it. That's the right word. He's never given him his stamp of approval. You are all-time great, young man, and I really respect what you've accomplished. Maybe he's reaching out for that because he readily admits he grew up, this was his idol now. He patterned his life after Michael Jordan, and maybe he wants a little more on an emotional level from Michael that Michael isn't willing to give him in a cocktail party sort of conversation.
The number of players that I have spoken to that have had private conversations with Michael Jordan emphatically state that he is consistent in the fact that he does not repeat nor broadcast who he talks to or when. The only reason I was able to bring up the fact that MJ talked to LeBron is because I saw it. I saw them at Michael Jordan's birthday party, and I saw him talking to them, all right? And so what I'm saying to you is that if you're LeBron, you know that much. If you're LeBron, you know he's an owner. If you're LeBron, you know he's the one that can get tampering charges filed against him, not you. If you're LeBron, you know that it is hazardous in a number of ways for Michael Jordan to be the one reaching out to you instead of vice versa. So why would you go out and publicly allude to that? I don't know. I'm saying, and it could be the way the article read. It could have been the way the quote was interpreted. I'm not trying to cast aspersions.
You know, that is interesting.
I mean, I don't know the way that, because the written word,
it's different.
But let's be also clear about this. Let's not blame Chris Broussard, because I'm quite sure if LeBron wanted to be on camera, Chris Broussard could have simply put it on camera and then simply used the transcripts to put into the magazine. The fact that it wasn't on camera has everything to do with a choice LeBron made, because I can assure you Chris Broussard would have gladly sat on camera in front of him. So the fact that we have the written word to interpret That's on LeBron because LeBron made that call.
All right.
I will say this, though. Having done both kinds of interviews,
Yes.
I think LeBron was a little more forthcoming with Chris.
Yes, more
On
question.
paper.
There wasn't
No
a
question.
camera.
Because there wasn't
No
a
question,
camera
right?
there. That's
No
absolutely
question.
true.
No
All right.
question. But he has to learn to be
Fascinating
that
debate,
forthcoming on
gentlemen.
camera.
Right.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your insight. Next time, kid Skip and I get an invite to the party.
That has nothing to do with me. You'd have to ask Michael Jordan.
Hey, MJ, can we get on the party? Apparently, Kevin Hart's weighing in, and I don't know what. He sent us a tweet, and I don't know where it is. There it is. ESPN First Tank. I can't believe my eyes. I just watched Real Skip Bayless give King James a compliment. He has to be sick. Am I dreaming? Let me check his temperature. Stand by.
Kevin, I'm sick today. I
He
got
said
a
no.
fever.
By the way.
I got
Small fever.
LeBron fever.
He's got a
By the way,
fever.
y'all, Real Husbands of Hollywood debut Tuesday night. Kevin Hart and those boys had my boy Kevin Frazier on for the first 15 minutes of the show. Show was outstanding. Kevin Hart, you made me laugh for the first time. In
Oh, for the first time. Please, he made us laugh the whole time
I'm
on
only
the show.
playing.
And
I'm only playing.
Get out of here. All right. Transitioning to some football, fellas.